Hey, hello everybody. Hope I'm live. The little button says I'm live, so we must be live. Minutes with Milo is live. Let's see what YouTube says. Says it's still waiting on me. Come on. Come on. Waiting on me. Oh, there it is. We are live. Well, welcome to Thursday night, everybody. I hope everybody had a good week. At work? Hmm. I know. We can hope. Cross our fingers. Think we got it made. And we might not have it made, but we got better. We got it better than most. Better than some, better than a lot. So anyway, tonight's show. I wasn't sure about what I was going to do. That doesn't surprise anybody that's ever watched the first 5 minutes of my show. They know it was like, this dude doesn't have an idea what he's going to do. You're right, I don't. So I had two options. A couple of things that I've discovered this week that kind of interested me. Hey, there's Golf Hockey Hulk. Goose Hawk? Garthawk? Garthawk? The dude, the man, the legend, Garthawk. Garthawk? Garthawk. Where was I? What was I doing? Doing. Uh, two couple of things that interest me, and I thought I might do the show on, and one of them won out. Won out. I mean, what do you say? Somebody's got to go home, right? So I'm going to do one on. I didn't know what to title it. You can't call it a heat exchange because I'm going to look at things that might do both heating and cooling. That's why I went with, can nature be your heat pump? Can you have a natural heat pump? And I think the answer is maybe, maybe. And we'll look at some of the ways you do that. But we'll look at what got me started on this, and it's just one of those things that came up on my Instagram feed or something like that. Hey, Robert, what's up? And it was called the natural air tunnel, and it's a way to heat and cool a building, your home, I don't know, a doghouse, whatever it might be, with little to no energy use. And I say that because I'm not 100% sure how it works. The pictures look really simple. We'll look at a bunch of pictures. I like looking at pictures. The uh, articles is not where it's at, right? It's all in the pictures. The articles are just so you could call it a magazine. That's my opinion. And you know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about. Come on now. So, looks like I've got sound. My little meters are pegging the yellows and the reds. The other thing I was looking at, and I don't know, we might just touch on it because I couldn't find really anything in depth about this. And Robert may remember it because he heard it as I was watching it on my phone. Uh, there's been a world record set on tethered model car racing. And I was going to do it on that, but the Model Car Racing Association website is like, man, you try to click on a page not found, or it gives you some kind of warning that files may be missing. It's, I don't know. But anyway, Vector electric motor model car went 217 miles an hour around I don't know how big circumference it is. It's not huge, but it's just a circle track, and it is just what you say it is. Or here it is. It's tethered. So, pole in the middle, cable, I'm assuming, because I wouldn't trust it with a rope. get this thing going, and it spins around in a circle and sets world records. Now, of course, before I thought the Vector electric motor was some kind of special motor uh, that was used as opposed to what I consider, most everybody considers to be, an electric motor. But come to find out, the best I can tell you is the Vector references how the motor is controlled, not the manufacturer or the process of the motor itself. So, but anyway, I was going to do one on that, and it's really interesting to see something like that go so fast in a circle. But it was electric, and I thought the Vector part was something special, and it's really not that I can tell. So they started out with uh, model airplane engines, and then worked 5cc, 3ccs, whatever. They're different classes, and I'm sure they have got tons and tons and tons of regulations and stipulations about that. But settled on the heat pump thing because I'd never heard of the natural air tunnel. And it is just what, it says it is. There's that. There's that. There's that. A lot of that's out there. There's that. All right. So let's do our window sharing. And if I sound kind of nasally or stopped up, that's because I am. So I got off work. And I know we've gone over this before on the show about mowing yards. Okay? So my push mower is just a cheap, it was given to me as a cheap 3 or 4 horsepower, 4.5 horsepower, pull start, nothing special, stamped metal push mower. Well, cleaned it up this spring, got the carburetor, it was having trouble. Man, I got that thing running good. It ran good, it ran good. I went to start it here last weekend to mow my yard, and the stupid thing wouldn't start. Wouldn't start. And I'd mowed with it 2 or 3 times after I'd cleaned it and did all that. Anyway, never could get it start, tore it apart, did some work to it. It's not getting fire. So I went to my grandmother's house, got an old push mower there, did some work on it, got it running. Poured gas down the carburetor and it ran. I thought, great. Put gas in the gas tank and it just poured right out. So I spent, I don't know how much time putting a gas line on it. Fired that puppy up, poured gas down in it, let it get going, fired it up. It will not suck water. It will not suck gas out of the tank. It'll run fine if you spray it with, ether or whatever. Feed it through the carburetor, it runs fine, but it won't pull gas. But my yard is huge now, tall, and it's supposed to rain tomorrow. So what I do, push that thing back in the garage, got the riding lawnmower out, and rode the hill that I've never rode before, and it is not recommended to ride. And you go up, and it flattens out into the top yard. Well, of course, it scalped the pea far out of that. And then sometimes it wouldn't go all the way across, so I had to back down. It's a dangerous mess. And it looks like Pookie Doo, but it's done. So that's why I'm all stopped up. Bad diaphragm. Yeah, I mean, it sit up there in Granny's garage, forever. You probably saw it. And so I got it out, and I should have known. But I was surprised it even started. It was almost seized up when I got to it. And anyway. But I've got that part of it mowed. If it doesn't rain before I can mow the front yard, then I'm happy. The rest of the junk, because we take the dogs out front. And that's what's important, really. The rest of it can grow up and, get wild crazy. Crazy. All right, here we go. Earth air tunnel. I mean, and this is what kind of blew my brain is look at the picture. I mean, it doesn't look like anything special. And we'll read the description. We'll go over it here. All right. So, see, it's hot air entering. Wind. Why you go away? Wind tower. Wind catcher. Wind catcher. So then it goes down. Follow the arrows, right? Red's hot. It starts to cool off because it goes to yellow. 25 degrees Celsius. What's that in human terms? 25 degrees C to F. All right, 77 degrees. William sounds like geothermal. Well, William, it is a lot like geothermal. So 77 degrees, 25 degrees Celsius to 77 degrees. I done lost my place. Oh, don't look that. Okay. So it's 25 degrees Celsius or 77 degrees in the tunnel. To me, that's not cold, people. Okay? That's not cold. Temperature inside the whole house is 25 degrees Celsius, 77 degrees in the house. Now, it doesn't say, okay, 35 degrees Celsius. So it converts 95 degree air to 75 degree air, which is, a really good drop. If it's 80 out there, if it'll drop it to 60. Now, given the fact that if you don't have, and I'm just going to make an assumption here. That's what I figured, William. And I'm just going to call you William because it really get you in there. But we can call you Craig. We can call you William. We can call you Willia. We can just call you Willia. 60 would be chilly. Well, I would think that if you didn't have an air conditioner and it was 95 outside, brother, 77 is going to feel good inside. So you're out there mowing your yard at 95 degree weather. You come in at 77 on the inside, and you're just like chilling, So I guess take it. I'm on my other phone. William has more than one phone. I have more than one phone. Lots of people have more than one phone. Are you on the one that just has internet? Is that the deal? Yeah. So 77 would be comfortable. It was 95 outside. So I guess taking in perspective, a 20 degree drop roughly is really good. So is it doing all right? I mean, you're on Wi-Fi, I assume, and it must be powerful enough. Does it show the show all right? Is it skipping? I'm doing really good on my frames missed due to rendering lag tonight. Because the little woman, she's not downstairs on the internet that I know of. So, if you didn't have air conditioner, if you lived in the desert, that would be pretty good. Now, all is well. Well, that's good. If a man lived in higher elevation, you would almost do better by opening your windows at night, right? Getting it cool, and then closing the curtains, closing the windows in the morning, and hopefully maintaining a cool temperature in the house. I mean, that's what everybody used to do, right? Before I had air conditioning in the house when I was a kid, I had a window fan, and you just stirred 80-degree room air around the room, and it felt cooler just because of sweat evaporating off of it. But at night, we would blow that house full of cold air, and then in the daytime, you closed your windows and tried to keep your house darker and cooler. We'll look at that south-facing windows, winter, and all that other kind of stuff. We'll look at some of that, which is, smart thing to do. Did I do that? I tried, but you've got to work with the hand that is dealt you. So the way the property played out, the place where the house was going to go or could go, it just really wasn't conducive to really making the house, face certain directions with all the windows so you could heat in the winter and, try to keep it cooler in the summertime. And there's so many trees, and in the wintertime, the sun is so low, in the horizon, that you would almost have to live with no trees so that you could get the full effect of the sun as it come around and it's so low in the sky. But back to the earth tunnel. An earth tunnel is also known as an earth heat exchanger. It is an essential technique that is used for the pre-cooling or preheating of a system that consists of a pipe, duct, or tunnel network buried underground or at a reasonable depth. It utilizes the heat storing capacity of the Earth's surface and uses it to provide cool or hot air inside any building. The whole cooling process works on the fact that the temperature below ground level is a constant throughout the year, which is called the undisturbed temperature of the Earth. During the summer, it accepts cool air from the ground below, and in the winter, it accepts hot air from the ground above, or from the ground below. The rise and fall in temperature can be absorbed inside the building. So the thing I like about this, and we'll look at it, is it doesn't really need or have electricity involved. Now, am I against electricity? No, I like my electricity. But, you know, let's say you had this system and you had a regular heat pump, and you could naturally cool your house to 77 degrees on the inside with no electricity. And let's say if you're, you know, wanting it to be 72, could that help? But as I understand the heat pump, in my mind, and we've talked about this, you can argue it. It's better to run a heat pump at a constant temperature, 72 degrees, day or night, so that it's easier for it to maintain a certain temperature than it would be to turn it off while you're not there during the day, and it rises up. At least it wouldn't get above 77, because if you had this heat tunnel or earth air tunnel, it would keep it around 77 through the day. Then when you got home, you turn your heat pump on, and it'd take it from 77 down to 72. And then at night, you could probably turn the heat pump off and open your windows, potentially. Or you could build, Robert says, I wonder how long of a tunnel to work. We'll look at that. Robert also says, or you could build your house into the hillside. Yes, you could do a Hobbit-style home, which would be really cool and really dark. And you would probably sleep like a rock because it would be sound insulated. It would be heat and cool insulated. And, there wouldn't be any windows. There wouldn't be any natural light to filter into the windows. Now, is that good or bad? I guess that depends on your idea of what, a sunny home. Is that what you want? Or you know. Maybe you could build like your living room and your entertaining room and your kitchen on kind of the outside of the hill, and then dig back and have all your bedrooms and those kind of things in the back under the dirt. Bristol train station has a geothermal energy heating and air conditioning system. First one around here that I've ever heard about. Well, to me, this is what this kind of is. But I think what you're talking about, uh, Carthok, is a kind of a closed loop system. And I'll talk about there was a system that my mother had. It was the same kind of deal. But like anything, the geothermal, it's only good down to a certain temperature. Then if you want it cooler or warmer, you've got to supplement that. How big's the tunnel? They have deep boreholes and columns for theirs, right? 59 degrees thought or so. Gotcha. Daniel Boone High School's geothermal has been for years. See, like I said, I think that's kind of a closed system. And we'll look at one. So let's go on down here. Principle of the air tunnel. Now see, I've got this browser set to be a black background. And the problem with that is apparently they use some black text. All right, principle of the earth air tunnel is a technique that is used to generate cool air in the summer and hot air in the winter. The process involves moving outside air through a duct system that is installed deep inside the Earth's surface. Well, it's no less than 2 meters, but it's recommended 3 to 4. So 10 to 15 feet deep, which is deep, right? I mean, don't get me wrong. You're digging a 10 or 15 foot trench to lay this in. That's deep, right? During the summer, when the outside temperature reaches 35 or 95, 97 degrees during the summer, the air that has passed through the Earth's surface, which is 10 degrees cooler than the outside temperature, absorbs the heat and transfers the cool air inside the building. During winter, when the outside air reaches 6 degrees Celsius, the process continues and converts the outside air from 6 to 16. The temperature change provides comfort to the user, and the temperature can be further brought down by other engineering controls. Is that like a heat pump? All right, the size of the earth tunnel varies depending on the site's need. In general, a 100 to 120 meter earth tunnel requires a depth of 6 to 8 meters. The pipe material can be HDPE or concrete, and the diameter of the pipe should be 450 to 500 millimeters. All right, let's get to Earth. Let's get to American languages here. What do we say? Centimeters to feet. Where'd it go? All right. In general, a 100 to 120 meter earth. Oh, that's not centimeters. That's meters. 120 meters. Wow. Okay. Millimeters, meters. Let's go 120. It's 393 feet. Wow. Holy crap. Is that not a football field? That's a football field. So 100 yards is 300 feet. That's more than a football field. To get to 120, can we get it to 100? Well, it's still a football field. That's wild. All right, so if you're going to have a 100-meter or a football field tunnel, earth tunnel, you've got to go 6 to 8 meters deep. And that is like, what, 10 feet, 19 feet, almost 20 feet. 20 feet trench. You got to have a 20-foot trench, 328 feet long. And then you got to fill that little puppy with HDPE or concrete pipe. That's 450 to 500 millimeters. 450. A foot around? Yep. Or 500. 1.5 foot in diameter. 1.5 foot in diameter. That's crazy. 20 feet deep for a football field and put you a 1.5 foot diameter pipe in that thing. The pipework should be airtight so that it doesn't have air leakage and other issues. One end of the pipe is exposed to the wind catcher and the other end is fixed to the AHU, which humidifies and dehumidifies the air as needed. Air handling unit. AHU is probably the air handling unit. From here, the air is distributed into the room. A solar chimney is also installed inside the building, which evacuates hot air from the building. This is the best process for Indian conditions. Well, what about the cowboy conditions? A wind tower wind catcher is installed outside the main building in the direction of the airflow through the area. It is then connected to the underground duct or tunnel to force it to move in the direction of the main building. The depth of the tunnel should be more than, here's another black text thing, 2 meters or between 3 and 4 meters. The optimal ground temperature required for conditioning the air is at 3 meters or 10 feet deep. That's not what they're saying up there. They're wanting you to go 20 feet deep. At any other depth, the temperature is not the optimal value. Well, then you're lying up here in this stupid thing. Though the duct has reached the area where it is treated for the temperature, humidity, and remove dust particles, from here it reaches the inside of the building. That air is circulated through the building. So basically, we can move into the Bristol Caverns. Yes, you could. That would be cool. Not so bad. Bigger than my yard, I think. Yeah. I mean, would it work? On a smaller scale? They ought to put a thing on these pictures that say not to scale because, as you know, I'm not a reader. I like to look at the pictures, remember? It's all about the pictures, not the articles. So I don't read a lot. So when you look at the pictures, you think, well, shoot, man, I've got this tunnel dug. It's, probably 20 feet, maybe, 20 feet of tunnel. And it moves the air into my house. That's not too bad. That'd be 58 year round. Yeah, but it doesn't. According to this, it only drops it 10 degrees Celsius, which is like 22 degrees in normal temperature. So if it's 35, it says, according to the diagram, if we can believe them, it's 35 degrees Celsius outside, and it makes it 25 degrees Celsius on the inside. So it's 95 outside, which is 35 degrees Celsius. You go to 25, and it makes it 77 degrees inside the house. So, yeah, in Celsius, it's only a 10-degree drop. In Fahrenheit, it's like a 20 degree. But it only makes it, if it's 95 outside, it only makes it 77 inside. She would be really tall. Good point, Robert. Or maybe it's just a really small house. Maybe it's just a shed or a barn. It was. All right. So this is what made me think when I see these pictures, thinking, well, that's interesting. because it's not mentioning any kind of electric motor that has to push or pull. Now, it did make mention of an air handling unit that would do humidity. So it doesn't do anything to control the humidity in the home. So if you're not worried about that, it seems like, you could keep your home a constant 77-ish degrees with almost no electricity. Given the fact that if your home's laid out correctly. In this scenario, it's just an open room. In this first one, see, they have the ductwork like right up the center, and then they just have vented it off into each one, and then they have a way for hot air to escape. Yeah, but the depth of the tunnel versus her height makes her 11 feet tall. All right, Robert, here we go. Let's get into this. In this picture, the depth of the tunnel is only 2 meters, which is 6 feet. Not what we were reading in the diagram. So 2 meters, 2 meters, she's, yeah, 6'5" is how deep this tunnel is. So she would be 6 foot, maybe. If you take this and move her down here, she's about 2 meters tall. But anyway, deduct pipe depth. Ducting can be decided according to different factors like the thermal properties of the soil, the type of soil, the external climate, and the water content below the surface. In general, we use a depth of 4 meters, which is, what, 12 feet, maybe? An increased length of pipe helps reduce air pressure and also increases the fan's energy. The greater the duct depth, the better the heat transfer and the efficiency, but it should be economical, so various types of arrangements are available for ducting. The diameter of the pipe. Because of the friction in the pipe, a smaller diameter pipe requires more energy to move air. To provide improved thermal performance, the diameter of the pipe varies from 3 inches to 30 inches. I guess based on the how 3 inches wouldn't get you any cooling, I wouldn't think. An increase in air velocity reduces the temperature while exiting the pipe. Duct layout, arrangement of the pipe network. A closed loop system inside air circulates through the earth air tunnel and fresh air can be added as needed. Open loop system, outside air is passed through the ductwork and transferred to the building. So all the ones we're looking at here is open system. Let's look at some disadvantages first. It cannot be used for changing humidity directly. The system requires a larger digging around area to set up all ducting systems, which can be a problem at some places. So that makes it sound like you might need more than one duct or more than one tunnel to do your home. It gives a limited amount of cooling or heating effect. The installation cost is higher. When the outside air becomes too hot or too cold, this system is not effective. You can use the ductwork as a telephone. You've been to those playgrounds, haven't you? Where you stand on one side and holler into the pipe, and the kid up on the jungle gym hears you talking through there. Yep. You'd definitely be getting, I would think, maybe some ambient noise from outside, but it may be so long that maybe it wouldn't bother you. You pull in the hot air, cools it slowly, flooding, it's supposed to be airtight, so I'm sure it would probably be watertight. So, the air system, the intake is above ground level, and then the vents in your home hopefully would be above ground level. So if it stayed watertight or airtight, which to me should be watertight also, maybe you wouldn't have a problem with flooding unless the water got so high to cover whatever pipe you had. You know, you're going to stick with HVAC. Well, I when I first saw it, I thought, well, that might be a cool way to help keep the inside of the barn, you know, a constant temperature. Because, winter, it would be nice to have it in the 70s in that daggone place. And I'm sure I haven't been there yet, but in the summertime, I've got a 12 by 12 foot door. And if I open it to get a breeze, it's just the way it laid out, the way the land is. You open it, and the sun comes beating right in there. So it's going to be 100 degrees in that barn, right? But anyway, I thought, well, that'd be cool. Not that I would go and install something now unless it was just like, well, get a 4-inch pipe, run it, 40 feet, and it has to be 2 feet deep, and, put this up 6 feet in the air, and it will keep your barn 77 degrees. That would be simple, right? I mean, you could do that in a couple of weekends. It would be hard to now cut a hole in the concrete floor. But you see what I'm saying? It's like, yeah. But after reading up on it, it was like, holy crap, that's not going to work. Yeah, big money cost. So that's what got me started on this. Like, I wouldn't even say it's alternative energy, using nature as a heat exchanger, or heating or cooling, or trying to keep, a temperature constant in your home, which, is nice. Now, let's see. Here we go. This has got a lot of pictures. I know I'm going through them fast. So, this picture depicts geothermal cooling and geothermal heating. So, according to this, let's see if we can make it bigger. Can you see that? I don't know. Cooling. Cold air circulates throughout the house. Heat is dissipated into the ground. So they have a system which it's closed loop. So in this scenario, they're pumping heat into the ground, which then cools it, and then they're using that to come back into the house and cool the house. And in the summer, in the wintertime, they're doing the opposite. They're pumping their cold air into the ground, which then gets warm, and then it sucks it, pumps it back into the house. So geothermal heating is popular in Canada and other cold country climates, but we haven't seen how deep you have to go to get it. Now, the scenario that I was going to tell you about, when my mom lived close to a lake, she had a heat exchanger that was like, it probably wasn't any more than 7 feet, because it was just off the end of her boat dock, but it was like 7 feet in the water. And in this particular lake, it was like a constant, 60 degrees or 65 degrees at that depth. It's a cold lake. So 65 to 70, let's say 65 to 70. As far as water goes, 65 to 70 is cold, 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 cold. In my book it is. So they had a pump down there, and that was the heat exchanger. So when it was 30 degrees, they got, 65 to 70 degree air out of the heat exchanger because that's the constant temperature of the lake water. And then in the summertime, when it was 90, they got the benefit of having the 65, 70 degree water, circulating through that. And I'm going to assume, and I don't know, we can look at it. Do you use water in the piping? Just like you would use, maybe it's a mixture of glycol like what's in a car. Something added to the water to where it absorbs or, it makes it more conducive to heat transfer. You're probably going to use, at least in the inside part, copper maybe in the heat exchanger. So if you're familiar with how car heaters work, not in electric vehicles, because those aren't really cars in my book, but anyway, the engine heats the water that's flowing through to try to keep the engine cool. Then, you take that, you blow air through it, and that makes heat for the car. Now, it doesn't work for cooling because water is hot, 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 and it only works for heat. But, the same principle. If you could keep the water temperature constant in that radiator, in the heat exchanger, then, if it's hot outside and it's 65 degrees, 70 degree water, you're going to blow through, air through that, you're going to get cool air. If it's 30 degrees outside, you're going to get warmer air. It only makes sense. So I think geothermal is really more of a closed loop system, and you switch it back and forth depending on if you're trying to cool or heat the building. But it wouldn't be really responsive. Robert mentioned before it would take a long time to change the temperature, because if you've got 65 degree air and it's 80 degrees outside, depending on how insulated and stuff your home is, that might be a losing battle. 65 degree air by itself may not cool your home very much at all. So, you might have to supplement. But if you got a well-insulated house, you're probably never going to get the house down to 65 degrees in an 80 degree day, but maybe you could get it down to 75 or 6. Maybe. Using the, 65 degree air. And really the only thing you're running is electricity to run a fan and electricity to run the pump, whatever you're running through there in your piping, whether it was water or glycol or whatever mixture it might be, to pump it and then, switch it on and off depending on whether it was, cooler or hotter or whatever you want to try to do. Here's as a picture. Looky there. Looky there. Let's look at this one. Oh, that's a blog spot. I don't know if I trust. What? What happened? Where'd it go? Which way did it go, George? Which way did it go? All right. So here we go. Open, 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 new tab. Boom. So now this considers it a heat pump. Maybe that's what you use. Okay. So closed loop horizontal or closed loop vertical, water-based or direct expansion. So here's a cool one. Closed loop lake. This is what my mom had. Or open loop well or lake. So they're sucking water, the cool water in, processing it, and then dumping it out into a different location. This one, they're just rolling the, the whatever coolant medium they have in the pipe through the lake and letting it get cool. So, how deep? This one seems like the horizontal seems like that would be the most cost effective because you could lay it out in the ditch like in a field line. But still, let's see what. All right, well, we'll take a chance on this blog spot place. Geothermal heating pros and cons. Geothermal heat pumps, a down-to-earth investment. The dirt under your feet holds clean. Types of loot holds clean. Oh my God. Well, these things are not well written. Cost of electric power from enhanced geothermal systems, specifically reservoir or subcommercial, blah, 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 blah. Not what we, it had a really good picture. Not really informative. So let's see if there's a better EVI heat pumps for heating hydronic heat pumps. All right, let's look at the one that says geothermal energy types. Brother, that's just a picture. Hello. Ground vertical collector, ground loop collector, ground horizontal collector, pond loop collector. We knew all that. We're smart, right, people? Right, we're smart. Let's try that. Let's just click. Okay. Home. There we go. Cost effective, reliable, environmentally friendly. Geothermal energy is the most effective, most efficient, cost-effective way to provide heating and air conditioning for single-family homes, apartment buildings, commercial buildings, offices, and blah, blah, blah. Everybody. The latest generation of geothermal systems require less maintenance than a conventional HVAC system and is highly cost-effective. This is a well-proven technology with over 30 years of active use that can provide reliable, long-term heating and air conditioning from renewable natural sources, the heat from the ground. Now, one thing that I can tell you about the lake or pond situation is they use stainless steel piping, and it would still have a lifespan under the lake. So at some point, I can't remember how many times or how often, they had to pull that thing up and repair or replace it. So that's one of the things you got to worry about is if you bury something like that 20 feet under the ground and in 10 years it breaks, yeah, it might be cost effective for those 10 years, but are you going to lose all that savings in digging that thing up and replacing it or having it repaired? You know? So, I don't know. It's a trade-off. It really would be a trade-off. I don't know what you'd put that you could bury in the ground that would last, I hate to say it, last as long as a heat pump. Heat pumps can last, a year, 10 years, 20 years. Just depends. The cost of geothermal systems should be understood as a combination of installation and operation expenses. The benefits derived from lower operational expenses when using a geothermal system far outweigh a traditional HVAC system, whose only advantage is initial lower cost. When coupled with current tax incentives and various rebates available today for renewable energy, the payback period for the incremental cost of a geothermal system versus the cost of conventional systems can be as low as 3 years. After this period, the system serves as a source of significant operational savings for the life of the system's operation, paying out dividends every month. So, I don't know. What would you use? Maintenance and repairs, I doubt. regular maintenance services, post-construction maintenance, commercial. What are we offering? They install geothermal loops, vertical, horizontal, thermal energy recovery from ponds and lakes, construction and installation of heating and cooling systems. I don't know. Where will it tell us what they're made out of? How they work. I'm just interested in what they make the pipes out of. Like I said, my mom had stainless steel, but that was because they were putting it in the water, and it didn't, hydraulic heat, radiant floor heating. Oh, that's another thing. Is it's I know it's not along these lines because it's not really nature, but these people, and it is, but there's a lot of people that have a wood furnace that sits outside the home that heats water or the medium, and then it's piped through a heat exchanger in the house. I knew a guy that had one, and he heated his house by heating the floor, and it was like a log cabin situation. And but see, he had like cords and cords and cords of firewood stacked up outside. Now, something tells me we've touched on this before on a show. You could do wood pellets where you put them in a stoker, you fill the stoker up, and it's all controlled, and it grinds and throws some in there, it burns it, throws some more in there, and it burns it. So you don't have to go out in the cold or the rain and stoke the fire. Or you could go for vacation in the wintertime and come back, and you would still have some heat in the house. You wouldn't have to pay somebody to come over and throw a bunch of logs into this thing during the summer or during the winter time when you maybe took a vacation. But kind of the same deal as any heat is, do you heat the floor? Do you heat the air? Do you use electricity? Do you use thermal? Do you use hot water? Do you use, any of that kind of stuff? What was that picture? Oh, there he is. Heating mode. Ground source heat pump. Yep. Run it through the ground. So I guess the answer to the question would be yes. You can use natural ways to heat and cool your home, but polyethylene pipes today use. But see, I don't know what the properties of polyethylene pipes. Is that polyethylene? Is that PVC, or is that same thing as PEX? Is that what you're talking about, like PEX? Plastic? Yeah. So where is those pictures? I saw some. See, this guy's not right here. What's he doing? He's cooking some solar panel stuff here. I like this paint drawing he's got going on. 95 degrees outside, 55-degree ground. He doesn't tell you what the temperature is in here. Air goes in. I don't know what this little device here is. Moisture. He's got his on a rise. Comes up, heats. I don't know what this is. His heat chimney. Sun hits this. and I guess creates a draft. By heating the air in the chimney, it sucks cold air from the house and blows it out the top. What it looks like he's doing here, right? You got several of those pictures like that. Robert, did you look this up? Geo. High density polyethylene. Type of pipe used for geothermal heating is almost always made of high density polyethylene, and for a good reason. HDPE and other polyethylene formed are the best material for heat pumps, especially if the system has a cooling capacity, since this means higher temperatures. What's this stuff look like? Here's this. What's this guy doing? Let's see what he says. Turn this on. Give us some sound.
Today, we're going to talk about geothermal air conditioning tricks and hacks. In particular, because I have other videos on geothermal air conditioning, this video is going to focus on a lot of the questions that have come up from the previous videos, as well as some little tricks and hacks that can answer some of the biggest questions that people have about low-grade or cheap geothermal cooling or air conditioning. Because what this system does is it uses ground heat or ground cooling temperature rather than using a heat pump. And when you add a heat pump, they work. Don't get me wrong. Whether a heat pump's using a liquid or an air type system, heat pumps can really work well. But they use a lot more electricity than what I'm suggesting with this system. And my system won't work in all areas. So what I'm going to offer in this video is how to do some quick tests to see whether it's from Facebook and sending me messages through there on my account. But there's a relatively easy way to find out your ground temperature. And it's not going to work for everyone, but it's going to work for most places. I mean, most people looking at this type of a system have an acre or more of land. They may be on a municipal water system, or you may have your own well. In either case, the majority of people will have water coming through the ground and into your house. Well, that water, in many cases, is either, if it's coming from the ground, it's the ground temperature, or if it's traveling through a municipal system, it's traveling enough distance, actually it's probably traveling a great distance, through the ground, that it's going to pick up the ground temperature. So the easy way to find out.
American Water Heater made special Lennox water heaters, mostly for Canada. Help heat their houses. Oh yeah? With water, I guess?
What your ground temperature is to stream or small river or something like that. Is there another way that I can do the cooling system? Well, yes, there is. I mean, what I have touted in my last video was to dig down, 5 to 8 feet or more to get the cold ground temperature and run lines. But if you have a pond or a river running through your property, and you know that the temperature of the water at the bottom of the pond or the river is, I don't know, 8 degrees Celsius or something, whatever that temperature is, 8, 12, but it's cool. You can actually put your lines into the pond or the river and just make sure you have it coiled up with enough space. It'll work exactly, if not better, than having the lines buried in the ground, because water transfers heat relatively good. Actually, thermostat or thermometer. A system like this, you pretty much got to dig 2 wells, one for input, one for output. Now, depending on where you live and depending on how deep you have to dig this well to get a constant supply of water,
You're talking about hooking it to a well.
Just
Well
If you're
water.
digging a 4-inch hole into the ground straight down, you can do that too. You don't even have to get the water. The ground itself can be cold enough. The problem is digging straight down costs a lot more than digging out. Digging 5 feet down and digging a long trench is much cheaper than getting a well digging machine or a machine.
Yep. A lot more expensive to dig straight down. Deep, deep, deep. Makes it go. All right, so let's, real quick, 59 minutes. I've got my little timers covered up. So you can use nature as a heat pump in limited situations and relatively simple, I guess. I mean, if you have a way and a property, enough land where you can dig, 6 to 8 feet deep and lay a bunch of lines in it and get the pump through it, fill it with water, and fill it in and make sure that it, transfers heat and doesn't crush it or break, you can keep, a house, I hope, depending on, I'm sure there's formulas out there about how much diameter, how long a line you would need to heat how big of a house. But real quick, I've got this video on this. It doesn't show the car. I wish maybe if I'd looked a little more, but this is what I saw on the internet first that kind of led me to like, what is a Vectra electric tether car or, electric car at all? So let's take a quick look at this and then we're going to call it a night. Okay, so you can see the layout. This guy, he's blocking right now. He's blocking the pole. But this is a AMRCA, it's the American Model Racing Car Association. So it's a track, sanctioned track, and concrete and a guardrail. This thing's a guardrail here on the outside. And of course, this is probably, I don't know why it's wood and the rest is chain link. It's protecting something different. But pole, concrete pad, he's going to be, I guess, the master of ceremonies in this deal. Did you hear that? So he's got some specialized equipment going on here. Pay attention to this arm. It looks like he's got leather on this arm. And you can tell he does this a lot. He does this a lot. Alright, so right now he has his hand on the tether. You can't really tell it. But you can see the tether, if you can, a little bit right here. This is like a pretty thin cable. He's holding it right here. Now see on the back here, this is the speedometer, back in the back. A lot of wind noise. Here we go. All right. Look at that. 170, 183, 194, 200. That thing is cooking. And 217. Now watch it. I mean, it just peaked. There it goes. It's slowing down there. But did you see? He was kind of pulling it, leading it a little bit at first. The guy, you don't see what the guy does. They have a long stick, okay, and it's a paddle on the end, and the guy that is racing his car holds it up and he gives it a shove, almost like that, almost like shuffleboard, okay, like pushing one of those shuffleboard discs on the ground, except he pushes pushes the car to get it going. And this guy, and you can tell he's experienced at it, he kind of leads it and pulls it a little bit, keeping the tether taut while the car, starts to pick up, speed. And then he lets it go because centrifugal force is pulling the cable tight. But I don't know why I keep using my fingers. But up here, he's got this leather because he puts his elbow around the pole. Instead of holding on to the pole with his hand, he puts it in the crook of his arm as he spins around, and then, he steps up on the platform, which is really cool because where else could he go? This thing's doing 200 miles an hour in just a few seconds, and he's got no place to go. The guy shoved it. In a different video I saw, you could see him push it with a stick. Now he's leading it around. See how he's kind of pulling it? Now he goes. Gets the cable. There he is, spinning on his elbow. Starts to slow down. Still it's doing, 80 miles an hour. Like anything else, when people are going for records, and a record could be, won or lost by, let's see what this one is. Oh, this is a 10cc 197 mile per hour run. So he's using the gas one. See the guardrail? They're running two at once here, looks like. They're running different lines. Oh man. It's stretching out, looks like, maybe. I don't know. That thing's cooking. That's 100. Well, when's it get to, it's just doing 100 right now. When's it go? Oh no, the bottom number is miles per hour. There goes 180. Oh man. Well, that shows it like 200. I don't know. Maybe it is the top number. That's crazy fast. Crazy fast. All right, there it is. Well over an hour. I'm sorry. No, I'm not. You could have left any time. Could have left any time. But you didn't because you love it. You want some more of it. All right. There it is. I want everybody to go out. I want you to dig a hole in the ground. I want you to jump into it. And you can stay cool all winter by just digging your hole in the ground and jumping in it. Works better if you fill it with water. You jump into it. Put a big garbage bag in. Oh, 55-gallon drum. Dig a hole. Put a 55-gallon drum down in there. Fill it with water. Put a little pump on it. Circulate it so, you clean the pee and the leaves out of it. And you have you a nice little cool little soaker tub in the hot summertime. That'd be really cool. Go out there and make you a geothermal unit. Heat your she shed, William. Heat the she shed with geothermal. That's all you need. Just dig you a 300-foot well, pump some well water up. You said you had well water at that one place you lived. Could you imagine? You could have just tapped onto it and pumped it through your house and cooled your house with well water. 'Cause I think well water, man, I think it's like, I don't know, isn't it like 50 degrees or something? Something really cold. You get it out of the bottom and it comes up. All right. All right. William's already saying good night. He's probably halfway asleep already. He'll probably just turn the phone off and go to bed. He's probably laying there right now. 58-ish. Well, that's really good. If you only knew then what you know now, you could have built you something. But you still have opportunity to do the she shed. You could cool it, heat it, cool it, some water. So if it's 35 degrees and you got 58-degree air coming into the she shed, you'd be the hero, man. You'd be the one. All right, everybody. Appreciate it. Like, subscribe, tell your friends. I checked it before I got on here. 127 subscribers to YouTube. That's really good. I appreciate everybody showing up and listening to me ramble on about nature and heating and cooling your house, and watching a little old model car go 200 miles an hour, something like that. Anyway, all right, let's see if we can turn this thing off and go on and do something else. Start recording, no. Virtual camera, no. Stop streaming, that's the button we want. All right, see you, everybody. Have fun.